let's rock and roll because we have an activity, a T-test activity for real. So I'll get in and get out here. All right, let's start with good things. Good things. Third week of school. Woohoo! Let's count how many weeks we got. No, never mind. Something athletic. Here we go.
My #1 girls doubles team beat Duncanville's #1 girls doubles team.
Woo! I love it. Congratulations, Coach. Great. Great, great. He has such good kids. They're like all academic too. Yeah, it's great kids. What else? What else? Okay, yeah. Linda?
I'm still alive.
Oh, she survived into week 3 here. That's a good thing. That's a real good thing. Rangers, hey, they're coming on. I'm going Sunday. I love it. I get a Beltray shirt if I get there soon enough. Go Rangers. We'll have to have a Ranger Day. And speaking of a day, what day do we get to wear jeans?
Monday.
Okay, don't forget. It's got to be that Sam t-shirt, and I'm going to tell you, we have about 200 staff members or whatever, and I think we've sold about 250, and we only made it available to staff, so we should probably see a lot of those t-shirts on Monday, and I really appreciate you doing that.
And if you did get one and want one, I need to know ASAP.
Oh, Monday, October 12th?
In the morning.
September 14th.
Next Monday, the 14th, is your designated day to wear those. And we'll have some more days, and if you're interested in walk running with us, then sign up to do that as well. Even I'm doing it, and I don't know how, what came over me. All right. Congratulations, Kashetta Hobson. Teacher of the Month. Congratulations. And Laura De La Cruz, our paraprofessional of the month. Thank you. Thank you all for voting, and thanks to Allison for putting that together. 9/11 is Friday. It is called Patriot Day. And the first thing we'll do Friday morning by state law is I'll talk briefly about it. Sarah has very kindly written something, and I will be brief, but I will talk briefly about the significance. You know, that was 2011, so that was 2001, so that was 14 years ago. Our kids, you know, they were babies, you know, and so they need to be reminded of what a horrible day that was. So I'll speak to it on Friday, and then we'll have a moment of silence. And by law, it has to be the very first thing in the morning. Our flags will also fly at half staff. So just know that I'm going to be doing that Monday. I am looking for a UIL accounting coach. You know that our UIL team usually wins UIL academics. I intend to keep that dream alive. And we have 1 spot left, and I need an accounting coach. You don't even have to be able to count, just be the coach. There's kids, it's kids competition. But I hate to have any blanks on because I'm highly competitive. And if we can win by 20 more points, I'm all about that. We won by like about 130 or 40 points last year. Mansfield came in second. I hate that for them. But, you know, in the words of Ricky Bobby, if you're not first, you're last. So I'm all about that, and I want us to have the best UIL academic team. And I love it because our one-act play usually gets us ahead of everybody else because they usually win the district, and right off the top before you even get started for all the other UIL academic competitions, we've already got 40 points. We've spotted everybody else by 40 points. So we have strong UIL academics, and I do want to fill that position. So it doesn't matter if you can count, let's just coach those kids up. Okay, what else did I need to say? Let's see. Yeah, I do have some tickets for Friday night's game. If you email me that you would like some, I will pull them for you. The ones for 2 weeks ago when we were at home went pretty quick, so email me and I'll pull those tickets for you. And you can also get in on your ID. Okay? So
But you can't sit in reserve, Miss.
that's right. My tickets are reserved.
Those old farmers. Tell them you like corn and they'll let you in.
Miss Powell is referring to the event staff at the Warrior Bowl. What did you call them?
Old farmers. Those old farmers.
Well, they're just sticklers for the rules, Miss Powell, kind of like you. reserve seats, okay?
For this
So-
Friday?
For this Friday, game against Martin. Martin's ranked like number 3 or 4 or 5 or something like that in the state, so they'll be all we can handle. But that's good, we want the
They lost
competition.
the Skyline too.
And they lost the Skyline too, yeah, so should be good. It is a home game. We're at home this week against Martin. We go to Abilene next week. And then I think Shirley we start district. Sarah?
Some of the students are already asking if they leave school early because they're attending the game in Abilene, but they're not banned or what have you. Will they be excused?
They shouldn't leave because it's only like a 2 hour and 40
No,
minute.
it's a 3-hour drive.
Well, 3 hours. That's still plenty of time. So it won't be an excused absence. You know, if this were a playoff game, we'd be looking at it totally different. But it's a regular football game, and it's maximum 3 hours, and we get out, you know, and the game doesn't start at 7:30. So, yeah, and it's at Shotwell Stadium. Okay, well that's all I have. I'm really excited about our first 3 weeks of school. Our kids. They're wearing their IDs. Thank you for helping us with IDs, dress code, tardies, etc. They're going to love those lunch deals. Let me just tell you that. I know they're fired up about those. But if they have questions about it, honestly, it was a result of brainstorming this summer. Too many. If you've ever walked down that hall first period, there's too many tardies first period. And so many of them end up in ISS, and that's not the best place to get an education. I hate to break it to you. Okay? So we strategized this summer. We're putting a plan in place that'll keep them out of ISS longer. If they're determined to be excessively tardy, then they'll end up there in ISS, but we're going to try to keep them out of there longer. Okay? So that's the rationale behind it. We're not trying to be the meanest and baddest, but we need them to get to class on time. As you know, we have 10 plus, and I want to meet with elected folks to talk about what strategies you have in place for the Every Child Improves by 10 points on standardized tests and on our EOC test, etc. And the other objective this year, district-wide, is to be fostering competition. We live in a highly competitive world and society, and competition is healthy. Okay, certainly we want to keep it healthy. We want to provide opportunities for kids to win. We want to, so it doesn't mean that I'm faster, and so I'm always going to beat you. There's ways to provide opportunities for me, who is slow as a turtle, to be on the winning team if I'm grouped correctly with other folks who have those strengths. So we want to foster competition. We want it to be healthy competition. But at the same time, we need them to understand not everybody gets a trophy. Okay, you got to pull your weight. You need to strive to be good and good enough to be successful. Okay, so looking for opportunities for kids to be successful, learn to be competitive, fight, be determined, persevere, get knocked down, get back up. Okay, our kids have to learn that. They do. It's a hard lesson. Our kids have been getting trophies since they were this big because we didn't want anybody to cry. They didn't win a single game. But they couldn't bear to watch those kids crying that the first place team got the trophy. So we just give them all the trophy. And we haven't taught them to be competitive. And then when you get knocked down, when you don't like the idea that you didn't get a trophy, work harder. You don't like it? Work harder. Okay? I had a conversation today about cords and stoles and that sort of thing at graduation. I get requests every year. Well, I gave blood, and they said if I gave blood, I'd get to wear a cord at graduation. Seriously, you think I'm lying? And I have to have conversations every year about that. Cords at graduation are bestowed upon you because you graduated with academic recognition. Okay? Now, with the emphasis on some of our CTE and programs of choice, we're going to stretch that. I'm having to stretch because old school in me wants to be purely academic. But I'm going to stretch a little bit. But I've asked that they add an academic criteria to that. So I'll be talking more about that later. But the bottom line is, everybody around graduation says, well, I'm looking around, and some of my classmates got these cool looking stoles and ribbons, and they're graduating with honors. What can I do? So I gave blood. I need one of those blue cords to wear because they don't like the idea that their gal is just a red graduation gown. Doesn't have any stoles, doesn't have any hoopla. And earn them. Earn them. And earn them for academic achievement. Okay? It's just the old school in me. All right. Well, I'm going to turn it over to Chelsea. We've got T-Test this afternoon. Thank you for such a great start. Our kids are doing a great job. You've gotten us off to a great start. Let's stay consistent and diligent throughout the entire year to that final bell in June. It'll pay dividends for us. Our kids are demonstrating respect. Those halls are crowded. The lunchroom is packed. The fire marshal came today. He came to visit Mr. Shaw. I thought he was going to shut us down at the cafeteria because we're so crowded. So you're doing a great job. Our kids are showing the kind of respect for you and for us and for each other, and I really appreciate it. It's the relationships that you're developing and the tone that you're setting in your classrooms. So thank you, thank you. Okay, go Chelsea.
I'm gonna go real quick. I just want to tell really fast. Chelsea gave me 5 minutes. I'm the Ed Foundation liaison. I was last year on our campus too, but it's a little different this year. I am going to send an email about it, but I just want to tell you the form is different this year. It is a triplicate form for you to fill out, and so I just kind of wanted to explain the form. It has different ways that you can donate to the Ed Foundation. I know last year we did the big, during our pledge, I'll have to give you the date via email, but you can pledge online, you can pledge by turning in money, or you can have it deducted from your paycheck. On here it gives you the options, different amounts you can have done by payroll. One thing that they forgot to put on here, there's 3 different payroll amounts. $12 is the smallest amount, but then they put a one-time $100 donation, and I said that's the only one-time donation you can make is $100. And they said, no, you can make smaller than that, but they forgot to put the little mark on here for that. So you'll have to mark that. I'll explain that, but you have to mark that out and change it. Let's say you just want to donate $50 or $20 one time. Hopefully we can maybe get some jeans days like we did last year. We'll see maybe with donations. But this year is the 45th anniversary for our Ed Foundation, so they're doing lots of things this year. And one of the things with your donation is that you get a campaign button and a free t-shirt if you donate with the monthly payroll or a one-time donation. So these forms I left in my office, but I'm going to go get some. If you want one, you can get one today after the meeting. Don't get one though unless they said these are expensive. So unless you know for sure you want to donate, if you decide later after you read my email that you want to donate, I'll still have forms in my office. But because they're triplicate, they're expensive. You can also upgrade your t-shirt to a golf shirt or a polo style shirt, but it's for an additional $25 or $30 charge if you want to upgrade. And I have pictures of it's the 45 annual logo of 45 year. So I just want to tell you about it. I'm going to send an email. I'll have these forms after the meeting. If you want one, I can explain it. But we know that that money goes to good places. We got 2 grants this year from the Ed Foundation. I know they get lots and lots of grants, but so we want everybody to donate.
Okay, so since most of you did your homework, we are not going to watch a video. We're going to kind of go through some of the expectations that have really been updated. First, I want to talk about the results from the video. Okay, when I watched this video, when you watched it, what did you notice? What were your observations? Why did you rate her where you did?
She wasn't in the
Yeah. Where was she? Okay. All right. How much, did y'all, anybody add up the minutes of the amount that kids actually did work?
No. Maybe 2?
Maybe. When they measured, she had a measure and they cut it out, she was already talking again by 2 minutes. I can't measure that fast. So I was surprised that we had as many accomplished as we did.
But how do you know she didn't get, that information wasn't cut out?
The rubric. I don't care what you're doing in 2 minutes, if you're talking for 38, but it tells you what it's doing.
Okay.
Like, if she's saying, okay guys, I want you to quickly measure this cylinder, and then write down your observations, and then 2 minutes later she's talking.
Well, it did a cut scene. They did the group.
Yeah, you gotta look at the time. It was 2 minutes.
Oh, I didn't.
Yeah, you have to look at the time. The only amount of time that elapses was 2 minutes. So if you added up the elapsed time for when the kids were working, maybe they worked on their own for 5 minutes. Maybe. You don't give credit for what's not there. Like if it's that, you got to look at the time. Because yeah, you can talk for 45 minutes and maybe they do 3 seconds of a really great activity, but you didn't give them a chance to do it. That's not accomplished. Okay, so we have a lot of accomplished. That was not accomplished. It was not accomplished teaching. And I'm hoping that we were very tired of watching it in the background. But if we come into your, honestly, I would have rated her, I'm going to be very, very honest, developing in a lot of areas. Because she talked so much. And I'm going to kind of go through this. What I really want you to notice is when you look at monitor and adjust, T-Test had her at developing. Her pacing for that lesson was completely inappropriate. Because of the amount of time, how long, they're 7th graders, guys. Circles for 30 minutes, right? I mean, even if they don't have it at that point, you move on, right? Okay, so the pacing was off. She spent too much time collecting information from kids, too much time explaining, when the kids could have gotten a lot of that learning from actually doing. And she ran out of time by the end. And so everything she was going to have the kids do, she ended up having to just talk to them about it. Okay, and that's really where she was the weakest, was monitor and adjust. Did y'all see her walk back to the room that one time?
Yeah.
Like literally that one time she walked to the back of the room. Okay, so I know that we're tired, but this is how we're being evaluated. So if you truly think that's accomplished, then we need to make a goal conference. And if you're meeting, you need to meet with your appraiser, because this is not accomplished teaching. Okay, so I want to be very fair about that. What do you say?
I was gonna say, one thing that I would struggle with here is that with the technology we have and our overheads and stuff, it's hard to model and have kids model, and I always feel like I'm trapped at the front. But our remotes don't
That's fine.
advance a slide, or, you know.
It's not bad to be at the front. That's not bad. What's bad is you have a 38-minute lesson and you're up there 35 minutes. Because if you timed her, she was up at the front of that room for 90% of that day. You have to show them things sometimes, absolutely, but you show them, they work, and you walk around while they're measuring for 15 minutes. And then you say, okay, here's what I noticed, everybody come back to me, right? I mean, you know, I know a lot of the performance classes, and I want to address this because I've been into them. I went into the dance class, and I've been, you know, you're performing. You're supposed to perform. It's supposed to be messy. Ms. Peralez's kids were dancing. That's what they should be doing. But she has objectives and products. Like that day, they have a routine. They have a show in a week or two, and she wanted to make sure they got this part right. So that was their product for the day, that they got that part right. When you walk into Ms. Wagner's room, every kid is doing something different. But that's okay, because they all have the same, they were all working on sculptures of the skulls, right? And so they had an objective. Yes, they were all doing it very differently, but they had an objective. Or pencils in Ms. Klein's class. You think, oh, they're just drawing a picture, it's not a big deal. Well, that's not true. You have your perspective. You've got to make sure you're blending your pencils right. You're looking at color. There's a lot of things that even if you're working on one thing, you're doing very different things with it over a period of time. You know, there's a lot more to it than just coloring a still life, right? There's a lot of skills that you break down. And I went into Coach Burns' room today, and it was, I mean, it's great. You know, the kids, yeah, they're quiet, and they're working, and they're on the computers, and they're, like, taking notes. But what they were doing was money. You know, that is their life someday. Like, how does this apply to me? It goes somewhere else. This lesson, I could not see where that went after this, right? And I am an English major, and my husband will tell you I'm really bad with money. But I could tell how that was relevant. So use your gut, you know? If you know, fill your room. Like if you're in the front of your room, like with those kids, stop. Do something else. You know, let them spend more time measuring them. Let them talk to each other. Like, use your gut. when we come into for evaluations for T-tests, it is better for us to see you actually monitor, adjust, change right then than it is for you to stick with something that is just not working. It can be messy. It's fine. Messy is okay. So I really wanted to show this. Now her classroom culture was accomplished, and I agree. Like those kids, if she didn't have good management or good culture, they couldn't have sat through that for 38 minutes. Truly. I mean, they were taking notes. You know, they had their journals. They were pretty much answering questions. They got their routines. Like I wouldn't have given accomplished probably, but I mean, she had good classroom management, and they liked her.
Knowledge of students, is that their names and calling on them?
Knowledge of students is how kids learn. Look at the rubric. Knowledge of students is how kids learn. So, like the measuring part, that could have been the best part of that lesson, right? If there was more there. Because that was hands-on, that was real movement. And so she showed she didn't really understand her students because she went through the actual student work so quickly. And also, I think her kids knew more than she gave them credit for. And even if they didn't, that's okay. You know, meet the objective and move on, right? The pacing. Like sometimes if they can't tell you what a proper noun is, sometimes we were talking about this today. Like honestly, can they capitalize it? All right, move on. Okay? Because I don't always remember what a I can't even think of the words. Subjective coordinating conjunction is, but I can write it correctly. It's a thing. There's like 12 verb tenses. It's a thing. Okay. All right. So, evaluation focus. What is very different about T-tests from PDOS, and I think I heard a lot of people kind of give me this feedback last year, it is about what the teacher's doing, but it's really about what the kids are doing. And so your evaluation is not going to go well if the kids aren't doing anything. If they're not applying anything, they're not struggling, they're not being challenged, they're going to get notes sometimes. They're going to hear you talk and model sometimes. But we need to see where that's going. There needs to be application, otherwise I don't remember any of that. Like you can talk for 30 minutes because all of that was really important, but if I don't do anything with it, like today, like when y'all watched the observation video, you know, how much did y'all remember about it? We're the same as our kids in so many ways. And so student behaviors and the outcomes is very important. So your objective and product. Where I want to go, did I measure that they get there? Did she know that every kid in that classroom knew where they were supposed to be? She had no idea. Because she never even walked, all she had to do is walk around that room and read their journal. That's it. She just had to do that, and she didn't do that. Not one time. She walked to the back and to the front. When she walked to the back and to the front again, she didn't actually look at anything the kids did. Like, I don't think she looked at a kid. Right? I mean, that's very, very just simple things. 30 seconds, you know, this row, 30 seconds this row. Do they have the number I'm looking for? You guys see a lot. You're fast. You can walk into a room, you know. And then teacher behaviors. You know, do we ask questions? Not a lot of questions, but right questions. You know, are we ready for our lesson? Are we willing to take a risk? Like behaviors and how they affect the learner outcome and how they affect what the student is doing. But honestly, when we're evaluating for T-tests, we get the most out of what our kids doing. Because, and y'all, kids are not going to play. If they're not doing anything in that classroom, they're not performers. Because if you haven't been doing anything for 5 days and you walk in and you try to do something, they're just going to look at you like you have blue hair. That's what my son does right now in class. Okay. I'm going to kind of skip through it. So your learner outcomes are your SEs, your focuses, teacher outcomes, how you plan, teacher behaviors, how you plan, how you teach, and student behaviors. What are they doing? Are they working? Who's doing the working? Okay, this is really the same as last year. Eduphoria is up. I need everybody to go on to Eduphoria and make sure you're up to date. You need to do your goal setting for this year. That really should have been done. It really needs to be done by next Wednesday. Or Tuesday, September 15th. You can use last year's and update it a little bit, or you can completely change it. Okay, and then your evaluators will get with you about your conference. And then the evaluation cycle, we've already been in your classroom. How many of you have had more than 2 people in your classroom already? Right? It's really annoying, isn't it? And the key opens and all the kids just... Alright, so those walkthroughs, the longer ones, when we start getting to those 15-minute walkthroughs and those 50-minute formative evaluations, that's what we see, that's going to be your final evaluation for the year. And it's okay, I know nobody in here wants perfection. I already know that we're adults and human and we're competitive, but we want to see growth throughout the year. And so if you aren't satisfied with where you are the first time, meet with your evaluator, talk about what you want to work on, look at the evidence that was collected, and then work for growth. And then post-conference. That's where we meet at the end of the year and kind of talk about how to go, what do you need, what do you plan on doing this summer, what are you going to come back and do. I'm hoping we looked at the rubric, or if you didn't, I'm sure you're seeing why you should have now looked at the rubric whenever we did this evaluation. You have to look at it, so you can't just walk into a classroom like you were saying, how do I know what knowledge of students means, or how do I know she wasn't, like why weren't those good questions? The rubric is going to tell you exactly what to do, and if you looked at it, the attachment I sent, it's simplified almost too much, but it's very, very simple this year, and you had a cover sheet that just had, if you're accomplished, it's always. I'm always doing this. If you are proficient, it's consistently, like most of the time. So when you really reflect and you look at it, am I always doing this? Is this always happening with fidelity, right? Because if we come in your class 6 times and 5 out of 6 you were doing the great thing, that's close, right? That's good. But one time you were doing the great thing and the other 4 times, maybe you were sitting down, that's where you're going to get the developing. Post-conferences. What do we want you to do? We're not going to talk about this right now because I don't think everybody would necessarily want to share. But if you have suggestions for post-conferences, we would like those. So when we come to scheduling those, just keep that in mind when you meet with your evaluator. And let us know what you need. What do you want us to look for? I'd rather know what you're trying to improve and support that. Because T-Test is not about trying to fix everything at once. Right? And there isn't that much. We're not broken. We're a good campus. We're good teachers. We have good kids. We do a good job. We just need to get better because that's what you do. You get better and you get competitive. And it's boring if you don't. It's boring if you always do the same thing. Okay, so this is for us, for South, where we saw our weaknesses. If you remember, monitor and adjust, we were very weak. Differentiation, we were very weak. And we were, my brain just left me. Those were really the 2 main ones. So we need, and differentiation doesn't mean every kid gets a different assignment. It means that maybe instead of bullet points, I'm using a foldable because it's tactile, because it's movement, because a foldable is a graphic organizer. It's just a 3D graphic organizer. You have language learners in your class, you're letting them draw definitions or talk to their shoulder partner. It's just that you're presenting information in lots of different ways. That your class doesn't look the same every day. That's what differentiation is, that you're helping them, that you have interactive journals that they can flip to back and forth. You're using career models, you're using some group, some independent. It's just different approaches to teaching. Formative assessments. This was, when we walked into the rooms, our conversations over and over again was that we just don't know where our kids are. Like we're calling on 1 or 2 kids, or those same kids that answer all the time, but we don't truly know where every single child in that room is. And that product is so important because you're going to save yourself time. Because you're going to have, if you can catch that they didn't get something that day, or quickly as you're walking around, that's 1 less tutoring section, that's 1 less credit recovery maybe I have to do, right? So we're going to save time if we can walk around and catch a lot of those misconceptions before they happen and they become big, giant misconceptions that completely, mess the kids up. They have to relearn something. Formative assessment is a time saver and it's good teaching. I wish somebody would have watched me do long multiplication when I first started learning, because, I mean, it took me forever, and it wasn't my strength, but if somebody would have sat down, and they did it with me when I first learned that, it would have saved me probably a lot of money in algebra. And I wasn't that bad. Okay, student-centered. We got, like, this teacher was not student-centered. That is not an example of student-centered. If you're asking them to tell you something, but you're the one writing it on the board, why couldn't have they done that in a circle map or something in their journals? They could have write down everything you know about a circle, hurry, go. And that's good enough. Walk around while they're doing it. You know whether or not they have it, right? Read it really fast. That's student-centered. Or let them measure for longer. Let them problem solve and struggle a little bit longer. And then and then going back to that lesson, if you watched it, the circle, she spent like 20 minutes on that when really that was her model. 5 minutes. Move on. Bell to bell, wall to wall. I heard Nugget say wall to wall yesterday, and I loved it. That means I'm all over my classroom. Like, she went wall to wall, but we want like Pong, okay? Like, you got to interact, get in there, be there. You're here, teaching, be there, be with the kids, interact with them, talk to them, help them. And bell to bell. We don't want to hear about time, this, pep rally, SWAT, all this stuff gets in my way. I better never walk in anybody's classes and nothing's happening then, right? We talk a lot about not having time, but we waste a lot of time too. And that's just honest to God truth, right? So, bell to bell, wall to wall is my new favorite thing. Decrease, we get a lot, this is another thing, we hear a lot about complaints about testing, but then we give more tests. Okay, that's something else we need to be more reflective of. And I'm not saying like you do a unit test, sometimes you need information fast, but we complain a lot about tests, but we give more. Okay, and this goes along with formative, authentic assessment. How many of you, other than the SAT, like in the real world, have ever had any multiple choice? Anything? Right? Choosing your spouse wasn't a multiple choice. Or choosing a job. Or signing the house. You know, those aren't multiple choice decisions. How Chelsea's going to handle all the people who are mad at her after this is not a multiple choice decision. So a little less of that would be great. Okay? And we complain about it. We talk about lost time, but we give more. And inner reviews is another way. That, we really need to get good about integrating reviews into regular teaching. Geometry had a good idea today that made it more the competition and the fun. They're going to integrate their competition and do like classes against each other in a gym. Starling, I don't know if they talked to you about that. They need a gym. He's not even listening.
Or we might be able to do Keel too.
Okay, yeah, we'll work on it.
Yeah.
But get creative. I mean, y'all, and I hear this a lot too. I'm being mean this year. Oh, nobody turned in that review. Well, then stop doing it. You know, like if they don't want to, I don't know. I'm probably being, but I mean, don't. And I heard, another group. They were talking about kids not doing the reading, and so they were given a quiz. Why are you giving yourself something extra to do because they didn't do what they were supposed to do in the first place? Right? So make it easier on you is, I guess, partly really what I'm saying. Like, if they don't do original assignment, don't give them extra credit. Right? So a lot of the things that we talk about and we do, let's really walk that walk now. Let's take that risk. You know, if they don't do original credit, they don't get extra credit. Right? We don't like tests. Let's not give a whole lot more. Or if we do, let's do something more open-ended, realistic, relevant, and we always time. Do we use all of our time? So these are the things that T-Test is really going to look at when we, as administrators and with all of our district support, when we really reflected and thought about what we need at South, it's these little tweaks. Because y'all are good teachers. Like when we go in the class, we're not seeing kids in the rafters or bubble gum being blown, or my kid right now for math is sorting red and blue objects for math. Okay? So we're not doing any of those kinds of things, but we have places where we can get better. So really that's the main thing. So what are you gonna do when you leave on Edu4U? And do your goal setting conference. Simple and attainable. okay? And then let us know what you need. And y'all can go home and like burn effigies at me. It's fine.
Okay,
That was really fun considering the topic, though.
yeah. Give her, thank you, Chelsea. Very good. She tried to make, we could have started with you watching the video, but she let you do that on your own. Bottom line is, none of us, we were all classroom teachers. I will never forget being a classroom teacher. I wasn't a classroom teacher, I taught physical education. But I had to teach a moment of health, but I realized I wasn't a classroom teacher. I liked being outside. But in order to be a good coach, you have to be a good teacher. And part of what makes a good teacher is motivating students and inspiring students to learn. And some of the best coaches make great teachers because they can inspire kids to learn. So,
What if you were a bad coach?
if you're a bad coach, you're a bad teacher. Sorry. I'm sorry. It all fits in there. Bottom line is, though, if you don't know anything else about me, I'm not a gotcha. Our goal is to get in the classrooms more and more. It's just good practice on our part, and for two reasons. One, yes, we monitor instruction. I'm going to tell you, I was a darn good teacher, but I wish I knew then what I know now, having been in some amazing classrooms. So it grows us as instructional leaders. And also, so it reinforces what you're doing and continues to grow us as instructional leaders. And our presence speaks volumes to kids. We're highly visible. We're there. The minute we walk in, if a kid doesn't have their ID on them, well, you can see them grabbing for it, etc. So our presence helps us monitor kids, helps us be visible to kids, and us to build relationship with kids. But I was a darn good teacher, but I wish that I knew then what I know now. Because each of you, when I go into your classrooms, are growing me and making me a better instructional leader. And I've always thought I know good instruction, but some of the strategies, some of the activities, some of the ways that you plan and deliver instruction is absolutely amazing. And I feel privileged sometimes to be in your classrooms, and I know kids do too. And we have a responsibility every day to bring our A game. So we are saying that at a minimum, I don't care what you teach, if it's art or if it's calculus, in every classroom, every child has a right to know what you expect them to learn today. So that's the purpose of writing the objective on the board. Every child can benefit from your specific academic vocabulary. There's some science words, and I love science, but there's some science words that when the teacher pronounces them, I couldn't give you, and I thought I was a pretty good speller, but I couldn't even begin to spell that correctly. So I need that academic vocabulary as a student so that I at least know what you said, process what you said, and even know how to spell it and recognize it when I see it again. So I need that academic vocabulary. And then I need the end in mind. What am I supposed to be able to produce at the end of this 50 minutes through some sort of critical question or product? So I know what I'm supposed to learn. I know what I'm supposed to be able to do at the end of the lesson. And I have access to the academic vocabulary, so I'm not confused when you pronounce something that I have no clue what you just said. That's what we would like to see in every classroom. I'll just end with this. Speaking of competition and teaching kids how to manage their daily life. He's not my favorite person in the world, but when Michael Irvin gave his Hall of Fame acceptance speech, he said something that really struck a chord with me. He said, when you get knocked down, and this is what our kids need to learn. When you get knocked down, first, you get up. Second, you look up. And third, you never give up. And if we can teach kids that getting knocked down is okay because it's called life. It's called challenging yourself, taking that pre-cal class, AP Calculus class, taking that AP Lit class, taking those highly challenging risks and falling a hair short. That's okay. You got knocked down. Get up, look up, and never give up. And we teach kids that. We've taught them a very, very valuable life lesson. So let's teach kids to compete. Let's teach kids to keep their eye on the prize. Let's teach kids to be continuous, improvement-minded, lifelong learners, and to never give up. Okay? All right, thank y'all.